Hey, hey, hey. Happy Monday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the Grand Poobah. I am the founder and editor-in-chief of The Gaming Gang. So welcome aboard. Today is Monday, July 6th, 2020. This is episode 508 of The Daily Dope. Looks like we are having some issues with the streaming tonight, and I am not positive what is going on. So I have already shut down once, and actually I rebooted my modem and router and everything. So I'm going to do one last little tweak, see what I might be able to do here, and otherwise we're just going to have to fly with what we got. So it is not as bad as before, I can tell you that, because when I first started the stream about 10 minutes ago, a little more than 10 minutes ago, got to the intro, and it was dropping about half the frames. So we've only dropped 5% of the frames, somewhere around there to this point. Anyway, enough of the inside baseball. Welcome aboard. If this is your first time stopping in to check out The Daily Dope, let me point out this is very, very casual. It is not rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just kind of kicking it and talking about the latest tabletop gaming news of the day. So, also do want to point out that if you end up liking this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Ka-ching. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you have not yet. And, of course, if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell, because it'll tell you about not only when the Daily Dope streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, it'll also let you know when I have my standalone videos, like many of my reviews, unboxings, and so forth. And, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com, which mentioned before, I happen to be the Grand Poobah. You can get all the latest in gaming news and reviews and more over at thegaminggang.com. Because this is a live stream, that also means that there is chat available on YouTube. It's not on screen. It's just one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you want to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question or a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my best to respond. So far in chat, we've got the Madman, John Vogel, A Gray Day. Trevor Just is also in chat with us as well. So here we go. We're hitting the little hiccups again, but fingers crossed. Usually, if it's not too bad, the finished stream will be okay. When it renders the video, it should be all right. So I do want to mention, you may have noticed that I was on No Enemies Here last night with Dan Pancaldi and spent about an hour chatting about tabletop gaming. And I know some of you in chat were tuning in and watched live as well. Much appreciated. I do have to point out, now this was not during the stream. This is before the stream. Dan kind of scared me. So I connect into his setup, right? So it's through some, like online system, right? So I go on and Dan's talking to me. He says, "Yeah, I just got back from the farm." I'm like, "The farm?" He's like, "Yeah, the farm." I said, "Maybe you don't know this, but I I deal in artificial meat. It's like artificial meat. I said, like Soylent Green. And then he just looked at me. He didn't say anything. And then suddenly he said, all right, I'm going to start the stream here. I'm going to bring on the intro. So let's get started. Of course, I'm kidding. Dan was talking about being at the farm. And I do know Dan is in chat. So, yes, Dan from No Enemies here is in chat. I was pretending like he wasn't here. So we've got Craig Martin joining us in chat as well. So it looks like we've got a pretty good lineup in chat going on so far. So I did have a really good time chatting with Dan. And I was very surprised how much we talked about role-playing games. Because I guess that's something that Dan seems to be kind of, I don't want to say fascinated by, but is very curious about, because he had mentioned, and he will attest to this probably in chat as well, that he had played the Pathfinder Adventure card game, and that's about as close as he's gotten to playing a role-playing game, which I beg to differ, because it did sound like Dan's played plenty of Mass Effect. So as far as computer role-playing games, probably so. All right. Anyway, so Flaming Huron is in here as well. So Flaming Huron says, Dan, you're my new favorite YouTuber. Well, I guess I'll take the moderation wrench away from Flaming Huron then. Jeez, thanks a lot. Come on my show, in my chat, and go, oh, hey, Dan, you're my favorite now. I'm just kidding. I'm just playing around. All right. So anyway, as I mentioned, we're here to talk about tabletop gaming news. I've got a bunch today. I really do. And we got some interesting stuff. So let's jump right on in. Oh, actually, before I do that, do want to mention I actually took a peek at the finished product of yesterday's stream with Dan, and I didn't realize there were so many people asking questions in chat, because I was not on YouTube. I wasn't watching on YouTube. I was actually in the online software, browser-based software that Dan uses to do his show. So I was like, I watched it afterwards. I'm like, oh, geez, all these people were asking questions of me. And it was like, hopefully they don't think that I just ignored them. It's like, I only saw the stuff that came popping up on the screen, like from Herman and things like that. So, all right. So coming this month from Space Cowboys, some people call me the Space Cowboys. By way of Asmodee is Sherlock Holmes, consulting detective, the Baker Street Irregulars. I've got the dope. In 1880, Sherlock Holmes appointed a group of street children as the Baker Street Irregulars, his unofficial police force. This is their story, and the story of a particular year that thrust the Irregulars and the master detective into a series of challenging and dangerous events. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective is a cooperative game where the players try to solve mysterious cases by walking the foggy London streets in search of clues. Unravel the thread of intrigue, answer a series of questions, and compare your detective skills to those of the master sleuth himself, Sherlock Holmes. The Baker Street Irregulars is a set of 10 new cases, including introductory cases that are perfect for new players, while also offering novel mechanisms and surprises to give seasoned investigators something different. The cases include the Curzon Street Kidnapping, the Mudlark Mystery, the Three Customers. That doesn't sound all that, spooky or mysterious. The Promise. The Red River Valley. I guess that's maybe guest starring John Wayne. The Busker of Bridge Street. The Tiger's Eye. The Heist in Harp Lane. The Dog in the Nighttime. Being taken for a walk, I guess. And Death of a Detective. Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, the Baker Street Irregulars, is for 1 to 8 players, ages 14 and up, plays in around 90 minutes, and it will carry an MSRP of $49.95 when it arrives on July 31st. So, the end of the month. If you are a fan of Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, then you are definitely going to want to keep your eyes open for the Baker Street Irregulars. I have to point out, I have never really played Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. I knew somebody who had it back when I was in high school, when I want to say that was probably the original edition came out. I can't remember who it was from. I don't think it was Avalon Hill. I know it came in one of those kind of like bookcase boxes, right? But I don't think it was Avalon Hill. And I remember somebody cracked it open and we were looking to maybe play it, and it was kind of like, I don't know, this isn't anything like Dungeons and Dragons. So we were kind of thinking, oh, it's kind of like a role-playing game, or, oh, it's kind of like, like a board game. And it was like neither. So I'm actually kind of curious, seeing that I have been involved in this hobby for over 40 years. And I think I've seen Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective up close once for about 5 minutes. So Dan mentions that he was having so much fun that he disregarded a lot of the questions. So he wanted me all to himself. Oh, thank you, Dan. All right. So Flaming Heron mentions that their solid state drive gave up the ghosts. Oh, that's no good. Oh, I hate when drives crap out. So Trevor just says original publications were Sleuth or Cosmos. I don't think it would have been Cosmos. So it may have been Sleuth. Like I said, I know it was not from a gaming company that I knew at that time. So I want to say I think it was freshman year, and somebody as part of our game group at school had it. And I think we were over at their house, and there were a few of us, and we're like, oh, okay, this isn't what we thought it was. So moving right along, Stonemaier Games has revealed an August release for Pendulum. Here's the dope. Not a lot of images, but I do have some dope. In Pendulum, each player is a powerful, unique noble, vying to succeed the timeless king as the true ruler of Dunya. Players command their workers, execute stratagems, and expand the provinces in their domain in real time to gain resources and move up the 4 victory tracks. Power, prestige, popularity, well, I wouldn't have any of there, and legendary achievement. Players must use actual time as a resource in managing their strategy to best their opponents, using time on different action types and rebalancing it with time spent planning and analyzing. The winner will be the player who manages and invests their time most effectively and who builds the best engine, not the player who acts the quickest. Pendulum is the highest rated prototype in the history of Stonemaier Games Design Day. That is interesting. Pendulum is for 1 to 5 players, ages 12 and up, and plays around 60 to 90 minutes. There's no MSRP info yet, but this game is supposed to arrive in August. Not a lot of images, not a lot of specifics about the actual gameplay that I could find. Do you like the artwork? I think that's kind of interesting. But I will be honest, sometimes games that use sand timers as timing mechanisms, and gosh, I can't remember the one game where the egg timers, because that's really what it is, it's an egg timer, was utilized, and those were the actual like playing pieces. And it was kind of odd. A Grade A mentions the company that did the original Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Yes, it was in a paperboard box. I remember the leatherette, I should say, binder. And they did Jack the Ripper and Gumshoe. I remember Gumshoe. And we're not talking about the role-playing system Gumshoe. We're talking about a board game Gumshoe. I remember seeing that on store shelves. Anyway, I was going to say, in the past, I have played some games where your timer is like your playing piece and things like that. Yeah, I don't know. But It is a Stonemaier game, and Stonemaier Games does not come out with crap. So we've got that going for it too. Could be very interesting. I do like the little blurb saying that this was the highest rated prototype in the history of their game design day. So that's kind of cool. All right, let's talk about another board game that's coming soon. Well, this one's not so soon, that we have very little concrete information about. Yes, Czech Games Edition has a deck building / worker placement game. It is slated for a Q4 release. I've got the dope on Lost Ruins of Ourck. On an uninhabited island in uncharted seas, explorers have found traces of a great civilization. Now you will lead an expedition to explore the island, find lost artifacts, and face fearsome guardians, all in a quest to learn the island's secrets. Lost Ruins of Ourck combines deck building and worker placement in a game of exploration, resource management, and discovery. In addition to traditional deck builder effects, cards can also be used to place workers, and new worker actions become available as players explore the island. Some of these actions require resources instead of workers, so building a solid resource base will be essential. You're limited to only one action per turn, so make your choice carefully. What action will benefit you the most now? And what can you afford to do later, assuming someone else doesn't take that action first? Decks are small, and randomness in the game is heavily mitigated by the wealth of tactical decisions offered on the game board. With a variety of worker actions, artifacts, and equipment cards, the setup for each game will be unique, encouraging players to explore new strategies to meet the challenge. Discover the Lost Ruins of Ourck. Lost Ruins of Ourck is for 1 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 90 minutes to 2 hours, and it will carry an MSRP of $59.95. And when it arrives late this year, so it is a Q4 release. So in time for the holiday season is what I am going to take a guess at. I wish I had more info I could share. I wish there was more out there that I could share with you about this, but there isn't. There is just simply the kind of skeletal information about the gameplay and this image here. Although I have to admit, I have heard that there are people out there, because I guess Ourck in French, and I'm sure Dan is going to be able to help us out with this more than I do, because I do not speak French. I believe it's there's a word, arnaque, and it means scam or like rip off. So there was some discussion. Oh, the people over at Czech Games Edition don't know. Yeah, they don't know what this means in French. For all you know, they do know what it means in French, and maybe the whole theme of it is that this whole Lost Ruins is a scam, right? I don't know. I have no idea, but I thought it was kind of funny, and and it was funny. Dan and I kind of chatted about this last night. In this hobby, we've got people who 99.9% of the people in this hobby are great, and then there's the few like people who just think they know everything about everything, and it's like, okay, all right. So the Madman says that in his experience with Czech Games, the release dates are always moved back significantly. Yes, yeah, we see that. We see that. Well, gosh, what was the game that I shouldn't say just, it was months ago, that I played by them. I reviewed it. I really liked it. Was it Legacy? I can't remember. It was a fantasy game, but as you progressed, you had a hero and you were progressing on to face, the big bad demon, and it almost had a bit of kind of a little role playing aspect to it, because you would kind of level up different things. You'd get different items and get different skills. It was a lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed that. Sanctuary. Sanctum. That was it. Sanctum. Sometimes I can't even keep these games straight. There is an interesting looking Kickstarter out there right now. It's almost over. It is from Monster Fight Club. And the first rule of Monster Fight Club is monsters don't exist. But anyway, there is this Kickstarter. It is out there for Monster Fight Club. I've got the dope on Monster Scenery Metropolis. From the mean streets of New York to far-flung colonies of the future, cities are centers of adventure, conflict, and battle. Cities are where wars are started, fought, and ended. After the success of the first Monster Scenery Kickstarter featuring trees, hills, and other natural scenery, Monster Fight Club is ready to present its second Monster Scenery campaign, Modular City Buildings. There's no paper or cardboard here. Every wall is sturdy, tempered hardboard. Every wall is full color on both sides with tough UV-cured inks that will look good for years to come. The walls fit snugly into detailed plastic corners so you can assemble, disassemble, and reassemble. Avengers reassemble! Your buildings quickly and easily. Their strength also means you can stack them to make multi-level buildings with playable balconies and roofs. If you want to take your games inside the buildings, have no fear. The roofs and floors are removable to create lots of playable interior spaces. Perfect for role-playing games and skirmish miniature games. There is a Kickstarter video. It's about 3 minutes long. In fact, I think it's just a little more than 3 minutes, but you are going to get a way better look at these buildings that are available through this Kickstarter. So let's give it a watch.
Monster Fight Club proudly presents Metropolis. This ultimate cityscape tabletop toy box is full color, modular, stackable, and fully playable. Our city system includes a full range of innovative components that can be mixed and matched into endless varieties of gaming environments. And look, our scenery is durable. It's more than tough enough to withstand abuse even like this. Each two-story building is made from durable hardboard, which can be easily assembled or disassembled using our new unique connector system. For this Kickstarter, the building panels are available in tons of different colors, sizes, and textures, any of which will make your tabletop look amazing, whether you're role-playing in a dystopian cyberpunk future, ambushing a convoy in World War II, mowing down hordes of walkers, or leaping tall buildings in a single bound. We've got you covered. Speaking of tall buildings, our Metropolis scenery will allow your tabletop to go vertical. The more you stack, the taller you go. If you prefer to live in the grim dark future, then the city ruin sets are just what you need. Each bundle has dozens of war-torn elements that can be mixed and matched to create a hellish landscape. There is more to a city than just bricks and mortar. Add depth and detail to your tabletop with our ever-expanding range of add-ons and urban accessories. Razor wire, fences, boxes, and barrels. These are just the beginning. While ladders, catwalks, and zip lines can take your players to new heights, transit stops, sidewalks, benches, and streetlights can aid your travels when moving around town. And when everything goes sideways, and it will, seek shelter amongst massive piping systems, maneuver around cargo-packed warehouses, or take the high ground on a heavily ventilated rooftop. Finally, you can complete your playing surface with our full-color two-sided neoprene mats, which features streets and vacant lots on one side and a dark asphalt pattern on the back. For almost 2 years, we have had a blast creating and gaming on our Metropolis building system. It has completely changed how we tabletop here at the Monster Fight Club. We are incredibly proud and excited to finally get to share it with the world, and are confident that we'll change the way that you game too. If you've liked what you've seen, join the Kickstarter, make a pledge, tell your friends, but most of all, join the club, Monster Fight Club.
This Kickstarter is nearing the 300% funding level, and you can reserve the digital files for a $40 pledge level. I don't believe that includes the unlocked stretch goals, though. There are a lot of different pledge levels to this, but you can get the digital files, and I'm not positive if you only get the one choice or if you get all three. But you can also grab the physical buildings themselves, at least one of three choices, the options that are available, the different styles, right? You've got the brick, you've got the steel, you got the other one. But you can jump on board for $100 for that pledge level. And there are some unlocked Kickstarter stretch goals too. They're pretty cool. Like there's like a stack of tires. They've got a bunch of different like signage as well. So pretty sweet. This Kickstarter is just about to wrap up, though. It does run through July 9th. Expected delivery on this is actually December of this year. Once again, I do not know if that is the physical product itself or if that's when those digital files are going to be available. So I wanted to share that because I think these look pretty cool. And if you are a fan of, for example, they're showing Crisis Protocol, the Marvel miniatures game. If you're into that, if you're into like cyberpunk, if you're into any kind of modern or near future sort of skirmish miniature games, I would think you would probably be interested in checking this out. All right. Once again, I see we're getting some hiccups in the stream, but so far, not too shabby, not too bad. Interestingly enough, usually we get this kind of like hiccup with the stream, and I'm going to do one other thing real quick. Usually we get no, I actually already did that. So, okay. I thought I forgot to try to do something real quick. Anyway, I was going to say that if you play any of those kind of skirmish level games, these look pretty sweet. I really do like the look of these as well. A Grade points out that they are in on this Kickstarter. They play Pulp Alley, 7TV. I've heard a bunch of stuff about 7TV. I have never actually dug into that system to take a peek because I believe there's a whole lot of different genres, right, that you can play with 7TV because it's supposed to be kind of a miniatures game where you're recreating kind of like television genres. So pretty sweet. Speaking of genres, Pinnacle Entertainment Group has released the new edition of Deadlands for Savage Worlds. I've got the dope. Welcome to the Weird Wild West. The year is 1884. Folks from all around the world journey to the American frontier. Maybe I should do like a voice, right? Search opportunity, freedom, wild open spaces. But danger awaits. Some say there are more than just wild creatures on these lonely trails. Some say there are monsters, creatures born of the darkest fears, given life by some insidious and overwhelming evil. Out here, night seems a little darker, the distance between towns a little farther, and something changes the very landscape itself. All right, enough of that. Such tough times also create great heroes rising across the West to fight evil's cold grip with a trusty 6-gun, sacred tomahawk, holy miracle, or arcane hex. Think you got what it takes to join them, amigo? Deadlands is the premier Weird West role-playing game of action-packed horror. It includes all the edges, gear, infernal devices, and powers players need to blast the tarnation out of those creepy crawlies. For the Marshal, there's a comprehensive overview of the Weird West. And for Dan out there, the Marshal is what the Game Master is called in Deadlands. We had this discussion last night. So just so Dan knows, the Marshal is the Game Master. There's also an adventure generator and enough rascals, varmints, and critters to keep a posse busy till doomsday. Deadlands, The Weird West is a 192-page book. It's coming in hardcover. It's not available yet. It's in the usual graphic novel size and in glorious, bloody, full color throughout. The book does require the Savage Worlds core rules in order to play. This version of Deadlands, The Weird West, has been rewritten from the ground up and updated for the new Savage Worlds Adventure Edition. As I mentioned, the hardcover book isn't out yet, but you can score the 192-page PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. So Viper Dave is here. Casey Board Gamers has arrived in chat as well. Good to see you both. So we got the Madman hanging out, and the Madman is kind of our resident Savage Worlds expert. I have to say that I had Deadlands when it originally came out. Gosh, now I'm trying to remember what the company was, because Pinnacle Entertainment wasn't around back then. Gosh, I can't remember. And it was a really interesting story to it, really interesting background to it, because I'm a big history nut, and basically the American Civil War is kind of my forte. American history is my forte, but I tend to know quite a bit more about the American Civil War than just about anything else historically. And so, of course, this kind of fit right into that. And of course, we all know that I've been into role-playing games since I was, 10 years old or so. So I did like it. Here's the problem that I kind of had with Deadlands is it was another one of these games where it's like every time you turned around, there was more content out there. There was new content, more content, this, that. And you figure this is at the same time that we had Vampire the Masquerade with all their splat books. So it got to the point, it was like Deadlands and Vampire the Masquerade were squeezing every other role-playing game off the shelves with all this stuff that came out. Now, one thing I did like about Deadlands, if I remember correctly, was there was kind of a meta plot that was going on as well throughout. So there was kind of an established meta plot that was running through all these releases that came out. And then, of course, we had all these different editions of Deadlands, like Hell on Earth and all these other things. I think there's now one called Lost Colony, which I think is like science fiction. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is kind of cool. I am curious what this new edition does look like. And as I mentioned in the press release info, this has been rewritten from the ground up for the Adventurers Edition of Savage Worlds. So I'd be kind of curious to take a peek at this. Artwork looks decent. Artwork doesn't look fantastic. The artwork looks a little too digital, in my opinion, but, that's okay. So Flaming Huron points out that they really love Deadlands, and they are more of a fan of classic Deadlands. Got it as a freebie when they bought some other RPGs back in the day. Hey, that's not too bad. Get a free deal. Sweet. Let's move on to my last news piece, because the eagerly anticipated Klingon Empire core book has arrived from Modiphius Entertainment. It is for Star Trek Adventures, and I've got the dope. Glory to you and your house. We do not fight merely to spill blood, but to enrich the spirit. Emperor Kalis II. The Klingon Empire core rulebook for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game takes you to the final frontier of the galaxy, where new worlds and new civilizations await bold Klingon warriors hungry for glory and honor. Your duties may take you to the edges of known space, to Klingon colonies in need, to the borders of neighboring galactic powers, or into the eye of interstellar phenomena. Your warship and crew represent the best trained and honorable of Klingon warriors, and your cunning and abilities are needed now more than ever. A new threat looms from across the Gamma Quadrant, representing a worthy opponent for the worlds of the Alpha and Beta Quadrants. Tensions are high, and it remains to be seen how the Klingon Empire will get involved. It's a volatile time for the Empire as her brave warriors and bold crews ready for battle against whatever foes present themselves. This 390-page, full-color PDF core rulebook includes guidance on how to create your own Klingon-focused Star Trek stories of honor and glory on the Final Frontier. Would that be in the Final Frontier? I guess maybe. Okay, maybe on the Final Frontier. It just doesn't roll off the tongue now, does it? It also includes a complete and updated version of the Star Trek Adventures 2D20 game system, an extensive study of the Klingon Empire, including its history, culture, worlds, society, warships, technology, and more. Guidelines for novice and experienced game masters on how to run Star Trek-themed adventures and campaigns of conquest and exploration for the daring crew of a Klingon warship. There's a large selection of Klingon NPCs from all eras of play, as well as many antagonists, including Federation, Cardassian, Romulan, Borg, and Dominion characters and vessels. There is also an introductory adventure designed to quickly get you and your fellow players playing brave Klingon warriors. There's historical excerpts, personal logs, and intercepted communications, providing a new perspective on Star Trek lore and events. Brought to you by an expert Star Trek development team, including award-winning Star Trek novelists, editors, and game designers. Do want to note, this PDF is kind of a preview at the moment. It's done, but it's still undergoing some tweaks. We see that with Cubicle 7 Entertainment quite often as well. So if you do get the PDF, keep in mind any updates that will be made will come your way as well. You will receive email updates to whatever updates are made for the book. Now, you can pre-order the 390-page hardcover through Modiphius for $56.17, thereabouts, depending on the day's exchange rate. Or you can snag the PDF right now at DriveThruRPG, and you can get it for $19.99. Of course, I always like to point out that the Gaming Gang and thus the Daily Dope are affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to, say, visit DriveThruRPG, please swing by thegaminggang.com, click on one of our little banner ads up there, and then that way, if you do make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And those little portions all add up and really do help keep the Gaming Gang around. So very cool. I know a lot of people were really waiting for that Klingon book. Now, I thought it was just going to be a source book. I didn't realize that it's a brand new core book. And it's the 2D20 system is revised. So that kind of throws me off a little bit. So does that mean that it's a little bit of a different system than the Star Trek Adventures? Because that is also the 2D20. I don't know. One thing I will say about the Modiphius Entertainment lineup of like Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of, Star Trek Adventures, John Carter, the background, the detail, or as like some people like to refer to it as the fluff, is top notch. It is top notch. So like with Star Trek, if you're a big Star Trek fan outside of Discovery, because that's not included in their license, at least not yet as far as I understand, you will definitely dig just reading through some of these source books that come out for Star Trek Adventures. So pretty sweet. And Deadlands too. Very cool. A couple of very, very cool role-playing game releases, both out in PDF right now. You can pre-order the hardcover from Modiphius for the Klingon core book. No word yet on when you can pre-order the Deadlands hardcover. So Dan from No Enemies has to rock on out. Thanks, Dan. Thanks again. Catch you later. Let's see. Let's wrap up. Let's see what we got in chat here. So, A Great A says the 20th anniversary edition of Deadlands was published after Kickstarter in 2016, and the content is the same as the 1999 edition. Was 1999 the first? Wow, maybe it was. See, carry the one. Joking. I'm like, I thought it came out. Well, no, I guess I was older. I know I was gonna say, and no, Deadlands wasn't out when I was in high school. Deadlands was too different. Deadlands had, completely, well, not like, oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like this before kind of thing. But it did have some unique mechanics to it that we hadn't seen in role-playing games really before, at least big name role-playing games. But yeah, so 99 was for the second edition. Thank you, a great day. I was gonna say, I didn't think it was. It's like, wow, it's that recent, but no, it's not. Oh yeah, thank you. There we go. 96. That sounds more like it. 1996 sounds more like it. All right, so let's see. Oh, yes, Lost Colony is a mix of sci-fi and Western horror. Thank you to the Madman for clearing that up. I thought that's what I had run across. I haven't done any. I should reach out to Pinnacle because they were cool. They provided me with PDF previews when they did the Kickstarter for The Goon, and also what was the other comic book related? It was a science fiction one. I forget. But they had provided me previews to do reviews of. And then I reviewed some Lankmar stuff they did. And then after that, I haven't, nothing. It was all PDFs. I should reach out because I'd like to provide them with some love. Of course, I would prefer to do video, not do PDF. In fact, I reached out to Sammy today because I hadn't seen a review from her in over a month. And I was like, is everything all right? You still doing reviews? Because, sometimes reviewers just come out of the woodwork and go, Jeff, I want to review stuff for you. They do one review and then you never hear from them again. It's like, what? So yeah, she's still on board, but I've got tons and tons of PDFs that I could get reviewed. So I am always in the market for anybody who enjoys role-playing games. If you want to do some written reviews for PDFs, I got loads of them, and I have just about nearly every company out there who does PDFs. Sure, I can get. But yeah, I should reach out to Pinnacle, see about maybe sharing some cool reviews from them. See what else. Man says Pinnacle's retooling some of their settings for the second edition of the Adventure Edition. So Flaming Heron says that Modiphius is about as good as Cubicle 7's intellectual properties are, which are based on existing IPs, which unfortunately we are seeing that kind of shrink from Cubicle 7, which is kind of sad because I love the gang at Cubicle 7. I am supposed to interview Dom maybe next week or week after that. He was on vacation. So I had reached out to my contact over at Cubicle 7 because I do my annual interview with Dom all the time at Gen Con. That ain't happening this year. So I did want to make sure that I get my annual interview with him because he's one of my favorite people to talk to in the industry. Always is. All right. Anyway, that is it for tonight's show. Once again, if you didn't have an opportunity to check out my visit with Dan Pancaldi, who was just here in chat over at No Enemies Here last night, swing on over to his YouTube channel. Check it out. We had some fun. It was, like I said, I was very surprised how we segued into role-playing games because I was not expecting that whatsoever. So, but yeah, we had a pretty good time. We had a pretty good time. Very lighthearted, nothing too serious. Did discuss something that people were, not a lot, but there were some people who were mad at me on Twitter. But other than that, I mean, it's all pretty pretty much just kind of goofiness, kind of joking around. Okay, anyway, as I like to always point out, if you like this video, by all means, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, ring that notification bell. It will not only let you know when the Daily Dope streams live, Monday through Thursday nights, it'll also tell you when I upload other videos as well, which you will start seeing some that I did this weekend starting tomorrow. I have 5 new videos. I might just roll them out one at a time for the rest of the week. So Great Ace says, who isn't mad on Twitter? It's a rage amplifier. I'm not mad on Twitter. It's got better things to do than be mad on Twitter or any social. And that's not to say that I don't tell people off from time to time, but I don't get online with an attitude. Or anyway, Flaming Heron says computers are rage amplifiers overall anyway. So don't have to be on Twitter. Just have to have a computer. Anyway, also speaking of subscribing, I think I'm like 11 subscribers away from 2,500. So that's kind of cool. So we'll see what happens. So yes, and Flaming Heron says, yes, anywhere where people are faceless. Yeah, see, that's one of the things that I'm not a big fan of. If I share an opinion or something like that online, it's me. I'm not sitting there going like, oh, hi, I'm Joe Blow McCormick. Yeah, that's it. No, it's always just me. All right, anyway, those of you who were watching live tonight, thank you very much for hanging out, keeping me company tonight in chat, especially since we had to do a second round, right? We had to do a cut because all those drop frames we were getting, we ended up all right. We were less than 1% during the stream, so that should be good. But anyway, I appreciate everybody who watches live. If you don't have an opportunity to watch live, that's okay. Even if you watch on Memorex, I definitely appreciate anybody taking time out to give the videos a watch. All right, so everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday night. I should say / Tuesday morning. I will be back tomorrow. And as I like to close during this pandemic, let me remind you, be smart and stay safe. Oh, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. And of course, if you want to catch up on past episodes of The Daily Dope, check out this playlist. And if you'd like to see what YouTube's recommending you take a peek at from the channel, just give a click right over here. Of course, I'm Jeff McAleer, and once again, thank you very much for watching.